I'm currently in Quebec, but if I take one step this way, I'm in Franklin County, New York State. But all of this is Akwasasne territory, which also includes Ontario and neighboring St. Lawrence County, New York.
Regardless where you are on your reserve, there's a really good chance that you're going to end up crossing one of the borders. The border doesn't exist to us. These waterways, long before that border was here, it's how we communicated, it's how we traveled, it's how we connected to each other.
Akwesasne is a Mohawk territory on the St. Lawrence River. It spans 2 countries, 2 provinces, and 2 counties in upstate New York. It was St. Lawrence County's government that recently voted to allow ICE to train county law enforcement, something that has people in this community on edge.
I've had some kind of scary dreams.
Most of the border cutting through Akwesasne is unpatrolled. You only know you've crossed when the speed signs change.
Get off the street now.
Minnesota is a 20-hour drive away, but the people in Akwesasne are worried after watching violent crackdowns by immigration agents in Minneapolis.
In January, 2 Americans, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, were shot and killed by ICE agents, and 3 members of a Sioux tribe were also locked up for days. Now, ICE could be coming to upstate New York.
11 yes, 4 no.
That's the St. Lawrence County Legislature, authorizing ICE to train local authorities, but only to search databases to see if anyone in jail is in the U.S. illegally.
Yeah, so this one's based on the first games of lacrosse.
But that decision has people in Akwasasne talking, like this children's book author. He's thinking about canceling engagements he's booked stateside.
You know, you see on Facebook, however much you can trust that, that there's been ICE presence in St. Lawrence. You know, people have seen their vehicles. People have seen them driving around.
I have an interview with Chief Rourke at 10 a.m.
Yep, come on in.
Matthew Rourke leads the St. Regis Tribal Police on Akwesasne's American side. He's been with the force for 30 years and chief for 11.
When things came out and said ICE was here, ICE was not here. They haven't been here. I know exactly who's here in this community, you know, and people travel, different agencies travel through here.
Rourke knows people are upset, but he thinks a lot of it stems from social media posts.
I can't control someone's fear, but I can tell you what's happening here in Akwesasne and how to help support it.
Rourke has led cultural sensitivity training with the Department of Homeland Security and Border Patrol. He recently met with Washington's border czar, Tom Homan, to explain the Mohawks' anxieties. The chiefs of both Mohawk councils in Akwesasne declined to do interviews. But to reduce stress, they're asking members to carry their status or tribal ID cards at all times when leaving the community. The Canadian government has also updated its advice. It now encourages Indigenous people to carry passports when going to the U.S. This community leader says it's not just Akwesasne. Many Indigenous people along the Canada-U.S. border just want to visit family and take part in ceremonies as they always have.
And then we have the worry of, you know, this organization known as ICE having to come up to them and ask them for documentation of their residency or where they're born, and that's frankly insulting.
At the Cultural Center in Akwesasne, the director points out not everyone carries their ID, if they're just going to the library or the diner.
So it's like, they catch us right now, then we can't prove who we are.
Ali Hooney David's mom, though, is anxious and made sure he and his sister renewed their documents.
I have that documentation, and you know, I carry it whenever I go to and fro, but I don't have a whole lot of trust that it'll actually protect me.
Ali Hooney David works here at the Akwasasne Cultural Center Library and Museum, but he lives on Cornwall Island, which means every time he works, he has to check in with border officials twice a day. David recognizes most of the guards who've been at the border a long time, but sometimes there's someone new, straight out of training.
Some of those recruits, they assume that you're El Chapo coming through. Like, they're really suspicious of what you might be carrying in your vehicle. But to think that somebody that is uneducated, full of testosterone, armed, and has a quota to meet for incarcerated citizens, terrifying.
The U.S. Department of Homeland Security says ICE does not target Native Americans based on appearance, ethnicity, or community affiliation, and recognizes tribal ID cards when verifying citizenship. There is no timeline for when ICE will train law enforcement in St. Lawrence County. One legislator says the contract between ICE and the Sheriff's Office is still being reviewed. But no matter how scary the thought of interacting with ICE might be, David says it would take a lot to break this Mohawk community's resolve.
We are survivors. We've been through residential schools, we've been through the 60s scoop, we've been through our own troubles with either side of the border. There's a lot of resilience.
Liam Baker, CBC News, Akwesasne.